Wonderful. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Bike Safe Fresno webinar as a second edition on biking on the road in Fresno. We're excited to bring you a great presentation today with a lot of great speakers that can talk about bike riding in Fresno. First of all, housekeeping. If there are any Spanish speakers, si desea la traducción al español, por favor, cambie el canal español, and Emilia is waiting for you at the Spanish channel. And she's going to give the Spanish version of this presentation today. And if you have any questions during this webinar, please type them in the chat and we will make sure to address them. And followed by the presentation, we'll have question and answers so that we can go over any questions or suggestions or even have a discussion. First of all, my name is Laura Gromes. I'm the Executive Director of the U.S. Green Building Council, Central California. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization focused on transforming the way buildings and communities are built, designed, and operated. This presentation is part of our Bike Safe Fresno program, which is part of the Transform Fresno initiative. And the goal of this program is to help educate on active transportation. And you can go to our website, usgbccc.org, Bike Safe Fresno, for a lot of great information. And there you can also find our survey, what would help you to bike more in Fresno. And we would appreciate if you guys take that survey, because the more data we have on what is keeping you from biking in Fresno, the better that can be addressed. And we're looking to share that information with the city and our partners so that we can address this. And for the city, it's always important to have this kind of data for their grant applications. So please go to our website and take that survey. Transformative Climate Communities Transform Fresno has been a long process, a community-involved process that started in 2016. The final projects were chosen on October 2017. In 2019, the contracts got signed, and now there's a bunch of projects going on, amongst others, the new satellite campus of Fresno City College that is going up in Southwest Fresno. And they actually just started construction, which is very exciting. So you might wonder, why is active transportation part of transformative climate communities? And we want to show you this little graph that highlights why transportation is such an important issue to address when we are trying to improve the way we are designing and building communities. This little chart shows the total California greenhouse gas emissions from 2017, and you see 41% of those greenhouse gas emissions are coming from transportation. So it's combustion engines that are creating this, and the goal is to find alternative ways. How can we get around without burning gas? And getting around on foot and bike is an alternative to do so, and a great solution locally to make a difference. Here's just an overview over the final projects that got chosen by the Transform Fresno initiative, and they were chosen by the community. You can find this map on our website, and John Honey from Public Works is also going to go over some of those projects that are relevant for active transportation. And just a little caveat, amongst those are not only infrastructure improvement, but there's also going to be a bike sharing program that is going to be started next year. And so 200 electric bikes will be available as part of this bike sharing program starting next year. So lots of great things to look forward to. All right, so here's a little overview. Oops. Over our agenda today. After this intro, we'll have John Honey from Public Works give us an overview over the TCC active transportation projects. Then we'll have Riding on the Road with John Liu, who is going to go over traffic law. Ed and Sue Smith are going to share with us where to ride in the Fresno area, Fresno metro area, and they also go over bike locks and cargo carrying, which are very important elements if you want to use your bike on a daily or weekly level to get around. And then Tony Molina is going to talk about crash avoidance, also a very important aspect to make everybody stay safe. And then we have our question and answer session at the end. All right, so John Honey, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'll hand it over to John Honey from Public Works from the city of Fresno.
Okay, so thanks for having me today. Again, my name is John Honey. I'm a professional engineer and project manager for the city of Fresno Public Works Department, largely focused on capital improvement projects. I do have I'm the project manager for a few of the projects within the TCC program, so I can speak to some of them more specifically than others. So today I just wanted to quickly go over general goals of active transportation projects, some of the common infrastructure that's associated with active transportation projects, and then review some of the active transportation projects we have within the TCC program. So the goals, kind of as Laura was speaking to, in an effort to help combat some of these other things, we want to promote alternative modes of travel, biking, walking being the primary example, improve public health, improve access to transit, provide more travel choices to the public. It also ends up having a result of supporting the local economy as a result of improving the transportation modes. And then when you promote active transportation, biking and walking, you're getting fewer people in cars, and the goal is to reduce greenhouse gases and traffic congestion. So some of the common infrastructure associated with these types of projects are often trails, bike lanes, of which there are a few different alternatives, sidewalks, which in my experience often close gaps in sidewalks. You might have neighborhoods that are adjacent to each other, but there's no sidewalk in between them. There's no trail in between them. And so the infrastructure and the projects that we have often try to connect two areas to each other. Increase frequency of public transit. We might be adding a bus stop, buying more buses in an effort to increase how often those routes run, and provide bicycle sharing facilities. And so like I said, I have a few of these projects. These are the projects that are very explicitly active transportation projects. There are other projects within the TCC program that are more aimed at reducing our climate and carbon footprint, that sort of thing, that have to do with solar panels. But I'm going to speak to these active transportation projects specifically. So first we have the number 5 project. You can see I've added an arrow so you guys can see where this is within Southwest Fresno. So this is a trail between West and Thorn that will help make a new route between these two areas. There will also be a lot of trees incorporated with this project to help increase the overall green canopy within the area. Project number 7 is kind of a wider range. It doesn't have one specific location. It's a Clean Share Mobility Network project, and the project, as I understand it, will create car sharing opportunities, van pools, bike sharing, and all of these are electric vehicles. I think it even has electric vehicle charging stations incorporated with the project. I'm not involved with this project directly, so if you guys have other questions about that specifically, we can talk about it later. You can send them my way and I can put you in contact with the right person. Number 8, Annandale mode shift. So like I was mentioning before, sidewalk gap closures are often a big thing. This is closing a gap in sidewalk here between East Annandale Avenue, or on Annandale Avenue, between MLK and Elm. Here are the southern limits of the area. Project number 21 is the TCC connector. And so this will increase the frequency of buses along Route 38. And I think the project is also slated to get another bus to help with this effort. And then project number 22, this is one of the projects that I'm overseeing, is the Southwest Offsite improvements. And this is actually a leverage funding project where we have acquired other grants, federal grants, to help do some of this active transportation infrastructure. So the project is a trail along Church, a trail along Jensen, sidewalk around this whole block around Church, MLK, Jensen, and Walnut, to close some of the sidewalk gaps that are in this area. And this is all to go around the future City College campus site and the park that's here in the middle. And so I have the number 5 Southwest Fresno Trail, and I'm also overseeing the project number 22. And so if you guys have other questions about other TCC projects specifically, I can put you in contact with who's managing those. So here's my contact info if you guys have questions, and then I'll be around to answer questions at the end of everyone else's presentation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, John Honey. And without much further ado, we're going to go over to John Liu. John, can you screen share your presentation?
Yes, hi there. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so what I'm going to be talking about are the rules of the road. So those are the laws and the practices that you should be following for safe bicycling. The positioning, where in the street or in the intersections you should be. We'll go over the types of bicycle facilities, the class 1 through 4, and then finally, just very briefly on group and rural riding. Before we get started, I just want to do a very quick poll. Where have you learned is the safest place to ride? So if we could get that up, is it going to be in the sidewalk? Is it on the right side of the road with traffic? Is it on the left side of the road against traffic? Or did you never really learn where the safest place is? So just, when you were a kid, from your parents or from your friends, where did they teach you is the safest place? So we'll keep this up for about another 5 seconds and we'll see what the poll results are. Okay, wrapping up, let's see what the results. So actually that's very good. Most people learn to actually ride on the right side of the road with traffic. So riding on the sidewalk or on the left side is actually, in many cases, not safe. So that's great that most people learned the proper way. So excellent. Okay, let's move on. So rules of the road. So these are the laws that govern where to ride. And the purpose of these laws is for us to be safe. Everyone needs to follow the same rules so that we all have the same expectations where the cyclists need to be in the road. And we also need to set the example. We need to model the way. And when people are following the roads, we're all being good citizens. And I think that's very important for the image of bicyclists also. And as cyclists, we have the same rights and responsibilities as motorists. Even though bicycles are not vehicles, we have to follow the same laws. We have to stop at the red lights, we have to stop at stop signs and follow all other traffic laws. And in general, we should be riding on the right side of traffic, using the rightmost lane that serves your destination. The law also says that we need to ride as close to the right side of the road as practicable. That's not as possible. So you don't actually want to be riding right in the curb line, for instance, because there's a lot of debris there. You want to be a couple feet off there. But there are circumstances where you don't actually have to be on the right side. And that's, for instance, when you're passing a slower moving cyclist or a parked car, it's okay to move to the left. If you're about to make a left turn, if you're avoiding hazards like debris in the shoulder or bike lane, that's fine. Or if we're approaching a place where someone else could possibly making a right turn, like at an intersection. It's very important for cyclists to be predictable. So that way motorists know, they know what we're going to be doing when we're on our bike. So we got to make our intentions clear. So we should be riding in a straight line and not weaving through traffic. You know, for instance, if there are parked cars, just keep a straight line. We also always want to signal. That way our intention is very clear for the motorists. We want to be conspicuous. So we want to make sure that everyone can see us while we're on our bike. And that's not only in the day and night. So we do have to follow laws. The law says that at night we have to have a flashing, not a flashing, but having a white light in the front. It's also a good idea to actually ride with a light during the daytime, and it could be flashing. It's going to make you more conspicuous. In the back, the law says we don't necessarily have to have a red light. You only have to have a reflector, a red reflector, but it's a really good idea to have a red light that is flashing. And try to make eye contact as much as possible when you're, for instance, you're making turns. That way you're communicating with drivers to making sure that they actually see you. Think ahead. So always anticipate what other road users are doing. So that's other drivers, you know, they're pulling out of side streets, they're making left turns in front of you, what other motorists, as well as other pedestrians are doing. And when you're driving down the street and you do have a row of parked cars, you want to stay outside of the door zone, because if those doors swing open, they could cause a very serious injury if you're too close. So you always want to be about 3 feet away from parked cars. And you're also looking out for debris, potholes, and other hazards in the roadway. And if you do have to cross railroad tracks, you do it as close to a right angle as possible. That way you're not going to catch your wheel in the rail and potentially fly over the handlebars. You want to ride ready. So before taking off, do the ABC quick check. And a quick refresher, A stands for air, making sure your tires are inflated. B is checking the brakes, making sure that they grip. C is the crank, chain, and cassette, just making sure the entire drivetrain moves very smoothly. If you're doing rides away from home, you may want to carry a spare tube in case you get a flat. In the summer, carry water. But most importantly of all, always wear a helmet. Helmets are mandatory for those under 18. They are not required by law for those over 18, but they are highly recommended. And there really isn't a good reason why you would not wear a helmet. So as you're going down the road, you're going to be constantly scanning. So you're going to be looking for those threats and obstacles. But you also want to be using your ears, because you want to listen to where traffic is. By law, you can't cover both ears with headphones or earbuds. You always have to have one uncovered ear. So it's a good idea for your left ear, keep that one uncovered so you could hear where the other cars are. You may want to choose to use a mirror, and those could be mounted on your helmet or on your handlebars. But keep in mind, even though if you have a mirror, if you're going to be making a turn or going into a traffic lane, you're still going to want to turn your head for 2 reasons. One is just to double check you didn't see anything that you might have missed, but also that mere act of turning your head is communicating to drivers that you're about to make a turn. Signal. Most people learn how to signal. Just a quick refresher. If you're turning left, it's your left arm out. Turning right, couple choices, right arm out or left arm up. The advantage of having the left arm up is your right hand is still on the handlebars controlling the rear brake. your left hand is also more visible to passing motorists. So when you're about to make a turn, first thing you do is you're going to scan, which is turning your head, making sure the coast is clear. Then you're going to signal about 100 feet before you get to that intersection or where you're going to turn. Then you're going to want to scan again just to double check the coast is clear, and then you can make your turn. Position. Do you want to take the lane or do you want to just stay on the right side of the road? So when the lane is too narrow, by law, you are able to actually take the lane. So you don't want to be in a position where you're so squeezed that a car may almost run you off the road. So that's where you may want to go ahead and just take the lane, and you have every right to do that. What you want to do is you need to be smart about it. If you're on a road that has very high traffic volumes, very fast speed of traffic, maybe you're not confident enough to take that lane. So what you may actually want to do is just pull over and wait for that traffic to pass. Or it's also looking at what streets are more appropriate to ride on. And that's something that Ed and Thor are going to be covering in the next section. Intersection positioning. So where you are in the lane, it not only lines you up to your destination, is what you're going to be doing next, besides just doing your hand signals. So if you can turn left, you stay on the left side of the lane. Turn right, you stay on the right side. If you're going to go straight, you stay in the middle, or if it's wide enough, you could actually stay on the right side. But you don't want to be going straight through on a right turn lane. So you should be weaving over into the through lane. But sometimes there's just so much traffic that you can't do that. If that's the case, you could actually get off your bike and be a pedestrian. Walk your bike across the crosswalk. I do want to mention that the laws changed about a year ago where you actually can go straight through a right turn lane. But that's only where we have a shared lane marking, also known as a sharrow, with the signs that let you do that. These have not been placed in the city of Fresno in the right turn lanes, but this is something that the city engineers are looking at to add some of these sharrows to the right turn lanes. When you're waiting at the red lights, you may be tempted to squeeze on to the front. But actually the safest thing to do is just to wait in line with all the rest of the vehicles, because sometimes when you're squeezing in the front, some of the motorists may make some quick movements to try to get to the right side to make a right turn. So it's just best to kind of wait your turn behind the vehicles. If you're going to an intersection with multiple left turn lanes, in general, you stay in the outer lane, the farther right lane, because that's where slower speed should be. If you're going to make a U-turn, it's perfectly fine to go into the inside lane. At on and off ramps, for instance, at 180 freeway at Fulton and Van Ness, you do have these high-speed off ramps, and sometimes it could be kind of hard to weave across. You got to be assertive at those locations and try to make eye contact. But if you don't feel safe in these circumstances, then try to find another way to get through. More and more roundabouts are being built. And if it's a multi-lane roundabout, you're going to want to stay in the outside lane. And the good thing about roundabouts are cars are traveling slowly, 10 to 15 miles per hour. That's the same speed as a cyclist. If you're making a left turn, then you're going to want to stay on the inside lane. But if you don't feel comfortable riding through with traffic on a roundabout, most roundabouts have wide sidewalks. They're actually called multi-use paths, and it's legal to ride on those paths. Talk about sidewalk riding. Many circumstances, it's not safe because motorists aren't expecting you there, particularly if they're coming out from a side street. They're typically not looking to the right side. They're looking for gaps in traffic on the left. And this is actually the cause of many crashes. So try to avoid doing this if you can. Certainly it's understandable if little kids riding on bikes who are closely supervised, but in general, try to ride in the street. But also know the law. For instance, in Fresno, it's actually illegal to ride in the sidewalk in the downtown area and the Tower District. City of Clovis, it's illegal to ride on a sidewalk. So just be aware of the law. Different types of bicycle facilities. There's Class 1 and Class 4. So Class 1 is a completely separate trail. So this is on North Fresno on Willow Avenue, where they actually have tunnels goes underneath the street. So this is a very safe facility, but you are mixed with pedestrians and other types of users. Class 2 is your typical bike lane, and this is by Edison High School. Class 3 is not any kind of dedicated infrastructure. It's going to be a sign that says it's a bike route, bikes may share the road, or it may be a sharrow in the pavement. Class 4 is the nearest type. It's some kind of separation between the bicycle facility and the vehicular traffic. It could be a row of parked cars, some planters, some plastic channelizers. The nice thing about these, there's more comfort riding in these. You're not mixing with pedestrians. City of Fresno is working on several cycle tracks, for instance, on Belmont, on Palm, on Maple. So you're going to start seeing some of these. So I do want to do a second poll question. What kind of bicycle facility do you feel comfortable riding in? And let's see the poll come up. So we do have the different classes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maybe you're comfortable in any type of facility. Maybe you're not comfortable close to any kind of traffic. You only want to be on, for instance, in a park with a trail everywhere, or maybe you don't have a bike. So go ahead and answer that. And here's a refresher of class 1 through 4. You can pick multiple responses. I'll give you about another 5 to 10 seconds, and then we'll close that poll. Okay, so let's see what the results are. Yeah, most of you feel most comfortable on class 1 facilities. And that's completely understandable if we're away from traffic. And that's why there's a big push to build more class 1 facilities, as well as class 4s where you are separated from traffic. But these facilities are very expensive, and that's why there aren't a lot of these. So thank you for that feedback. Okay. So let's talk briefly about group riding. So this is really fun, just being with your family and friends, going out after work on the weekends. But keep in mind that when you're in a large group, the people in the back don't necessarily see what's going on in the front. So it's very important for the people in the front to announce if there's some kind of threat, like there's a pothole or there's a car there, just announce that. Similar, if there's a car coming from the back, the people in the back should just speak up and say car back. Also important to make hand signals as you're slowing and stopping, announce it, and also use your signals. When you're sharing paths with other users, you have dog walkers and strollers, the important thing is as you're passing, always pass on the left and announce yourself, say on your left, or ring a bell if you have a bell. In this time of COVID, it's best not to mix with people you don't know, just to limit the amount of exposure. We know all about social distancing and not touching your face and washing your hands. But keep in mind that in the summer when people are sweating and sweat may be flying, keep even more distance, maybe up to 20 feet, just to be extra safe. And if you want to go out riding in the rural roads, for instance, out in West Fresno, just keep in mind that the traffic speeds are much higher. There may not be a lot of shoulder. So one thing to keep in mind is that as vehicles are passing you, particularly trucks, they may actually have that vacuum effect of sucking you into them. So that's what we call wind blasts. So when that happens, just keep a very firm grip on your handlebars and be ready to kind of shift your weight to counteract some of those forces. And with that, I hope you've gotten some tips about how to ride safely and understanding the law. I will be passing it on to the next presenter, and it's going to be Ed Smith and Thor Smith, and they're a dynamic father-son duo. They're going to be talking about where to ride in Fresno.
Hey everybody, my name is Ed Smith. We're going to go ahead and share our presentation here. And I'm here with my son, Thor. And what we're going to be talking about today is a practical guide for riding in Fresno. Where to ride, how to carry stuff with you while you're riding, how to lock your bike up and keep it safe.
There we go.
So I live in downtown Fresno. I live in 93721. I don't have a car. I get everywhere by bike. I carry stuff with me. I'm mostly a utilitarian cyclist. And so this is a picture of us coming back from a shopping trip a week ago.
Hi, I'm Thor Smith, and as you can see from this picture, I've been riding bikes for a really long time. I'm a lot smaller in this picture, and this is me a little later. So I'm a board member on the FCBC, Fresno County Bicycle Coalition, and we've been riding bikes around there and helping out people for a long time. And by the way, I love donuts.
Thor and I have taken lots of trips together. This is us getting ready to go on on the Amtrak train from downtown Fresno. You can take your bike on the train. We had all our gear and we were heading off on a camping trip. But before we get that far down the road, let's start slow, let's start easy, let's plan ahead. So if you're just getting started, you may not be ready to go on long camping trips yet. But what you need to do is start looking at the streets in Fresno and figuring out where it is fun to ride and where you can get started. So this is a Fresno Clovis bikeways map. And this map shows you where all those facilities are that John talked about. So you can see the blue lines are the Class 2 bike lanes, which are the lines on the road. And the green lines are the trails. And you can see down there, Thor can get us a little pointer maybe. Yeah. But the green lines are the trails, the Class 1 trails that are off the road. So there's Kearney Boulevard right there has a trail on it that can take you all the way out to Kearney Park. On this map, when you're looking at the map, you can zoom in just a little bit and you can see that these little streets are actually about a half a mile apart. So if you're starting down here at Thorn and Kearney, for example, you can just count the number of squares. So let's say you go 1, 2, that's 1 mile, and then 1, 2, that's another mile, and you can get up to Roding Park. So that's a fairly decent sort of destination. It's about 2 miles away. You can travel on these Class 2 bike lanes. And if you do it on a Saturday morning when there's not too much traffic, you can kind of get started with practicing and take a nice long break. If you take a picnic with you and relax in the park and then make your way back home, that's kind of a good way to get started. Of course, you can see Kearney Boulevard out here, and there's other places to go too. If you look over on this side of downtown, Huntington Boulevard here, that isn't even labeled as a Class 2 or a trail, but it's a scenic boulevard that goes through a neighborhood. It's very comfortable, fun place to ride. So if you're just getting into bike riding and want to enjoy a quiet neighborhood, that's kind of a good place to start. If you look at the map, let's see here. We'll look at the map again in a little bit, but this grid over here, this neighborhood grid, is just a neighborhood. It's also a good place. So if you're heading eastbound to other parts of town, you may not want to take Tulare, busy, narrow street. Belmont also has lots of on-street parking. Until you get comfortable with that kind of riding, you can just go in between the two and just cut straight through the neighborhood. And that's kind of like a Class 3. It is a much more low stress way to ride. But here's Kearney Park. This is my bike outside of Kearney Park, Kearney Mansion inside the park. Kearney Park is a fun place to go on your bike. This is a part of the road on the way back from Kearney Park. You can see the sun is setting and the mountains in the distance. Very low traffic on this sort of Class 1, or this may be one of the roads, the frontage roads along Kearney Boulevard. Here's the map of our trip from downtown Fresno. We followed this red line. That's our GPS trail all the way out to Kearney Park, where we hung out in front of the mansion, had a little picnic, and then rode back. Most of this is very low stress as well. Here we are. This is a group ride that we took with the FCBC. So you got to remember all those rules about looking ahead for the people that are behind you and making sure you call out, etc. This is on the Class 1 trail coming back from Kearney Park. Here's another zoomed out look at this map. And there, where my pointer is that low stress neighborhood where you can ride through, and you'll see you can make your way all the way over here to the McKenzie Trail. And that's another fun little trail. You can ride your bike over there and then come back through the neighborhood and then follow the bike lanes down, come through downtown and get all the way back home. So our first audience poll question for today is, what is the furthest you've ridden from home? Have you ridden one way 2 miles to Roding Park? Have you ridden further than that? Have you maybe made it all the way out to Kearney Park, which is about 5 or 6 miles from Southwest Fresno? Or have you gone even further? Have you gone more than 10 miles? This photo of my bike was taken up in River Bottom Park, up by the San Joaquin River. This is inside the city limits, great place to rest on a hot day, but it is more than 10 miles from downtown Fresno, so it's quite a trip. We'll go ahead and give you a sec to finish clicking your choice there, and we'll close the poll, and let's take a quick look at those results. All right, looks like you guys are ready to go. You need to know how to carry stuff. So we'll go ahead and dismiss that poll because we're getting ahead of ourselves here. We need to know how to carry things if we're going to go that far from home.
This is one of my favorite parts about riding a bike in general. I love carrying things on bikes. Yep. So all of these bikes have been set up with some sort of bicycle cargo carrying stuff. So in this picture up here, you can see there's a bag in the front and a bag in the back. Those are very small bags, and it's very lightweight. And that's useful if you have a backpack, so that you can carry stuff but not have to carry it all on your bike. If you want to carry more on your bike, you can. So this is a common basket, a little plastic basket you can just get just about everywhere. But you can attach it to a rack with zip ties. That's a very old trick. It actually works really well. And with a basket, you can just reach in the front and just grab your phone, grab a sandwich, grab, a light, whatever. So then you can also have larger bags in the front and back. So this is a larger bag. This is just your average lunch pail, but it's zip tied to the front rack. You have a small bag in the back for snacks and maybe a few tools. And this is the same thing, but in reverse: small bag in the front, large bag in the back. So here's some other solutions. So you don't have to just carry stuff. You can also carry people on a bike, especially small people. So this is a little small person on a little seat that you can get on most bike shops. They're fairly inexpensive. Here's another solution for a slightly larger person, still small though. You can have a little chair in the back attached to an extra wheel. This is called an extra cycle kit, and you can have it applied to any bike in a professional bike shop, or just do it at home if you're handy. Someone can actually sit on top of this. I think as much as 2 small people or 1 big person, and like my size. And you also have lots of room. This is a few extra things. So this is a camping trip that Dad and I did with some friends once. Lots of stuff in the back, lots of bags in the front. All of this stuff fit right on the bike.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves as usual. We're not going to go for a big giant camping trip yet. We still have to learn how to carry stuff on our bike. So Thor and I went on a shopping trip. Thor brought home a gallon of milk. On this trip, he didn't have any bags with him at all, but fortunately he always has a rack on his bike, and he happened to have some quick release straps where he could just easily strap that gallon of milk safely to his rack. Here he is taking a photo. So let's go back one. There we go. So we're in the grocery store here picking out all of our groceries, and we have them in our shopping cart, and I have my bag in the shopping cart, so I know exactly how full I can make it before we can have to go home. Here we are packed up outside the store with all my items inside my bag. This bag's always on my bike, so I can carry these things home whenever I need to swing by the grocery store and get some items. So here's some stuff we carried home. So audience poll, our second question for our presentation: have you used your bike for utility trips? Let's bring up that question really quickly and see if you can pick from the list. Have you used your bike for utility trips? This is multiple choice. So if you've taken multiple trips with your bike, let us know. If you use it to get to school or work or to buy groceries. read through that list real quick and click on the ones that you've done, if any, and click submit. Once you've made your choice, we'll go ahead and close the poll. And let's take a quick look at those results. All right, so lots of people have ridden their bike to work. Of course, you can carry your laptop, a change of clothes. People have gone to the store to buy groceries, to visit family and friends. Of course, we've seen lots of trips to do all kinds of interesting things on your bike. Right, thanks very much for responding to the poll. But what about locking up our bikes? So we rode to Kearney Park, we rode to Roding Park, we rode home. On the way, we stopped at the grocery store. We went to Smart and Final in downtown Fresno, and we got all of our groceries. But what do we do with our bikes when we go into the store? So let's turn it back over to Thor, and he can tell us how to lock our bikes.
So this is a great example. We were right outside of the Fresno Convention Center, and we wanted to turn around and get a sandwich across the street. So you don't want to lock your bike to just the frame, nor to just the wheels. What you want is to lock it to everything. So what you can do is you can lock your bike with a U-lock right here. So U-lock is just a giant padlock made for bikes. So if you lock it here, if someone tries to take the wheel off, you would get stuck on the U-lock. However, you still have the front wheel, as you can see there. So the front wheel can be protected with this thing called a cable lock. This cable lock is best used if it's a little bit tight, a little bit tighter than this maybe, around the frame a couple times and through the front spokes attached to the U-lock. And then you would also want to take off your light if you have a detachable bike light on the front and back, as well as all your bags and stuff. So here's a great example. We were, this is where we were going grocery shopping, so we took a few pictures. So right here, you can see we have our U-lock with the cable lock attached all the way around and through the front wheels and the frames. And as you can see, we're locked nice and cozy. Back to Dad.
There's one more example of locking up a bike. If you're going to be inside for a long time, make sure that you lock it up securely. This time, I've not used the cable lock. I've actually taken the front wheel off because it's a quick release, and I've attached it to the U-lock at the back with the back wheel through that rear triangle so that all three items are securely locked. And of course, I would remember to take off my water bottle, my lights, my bags, everything with me before I left my bike. And that's it. That's the end of our presentation. We did it nice and short and sweet. Good luck in your adventures. I hope you make it out to Kearney Park and beyond and enjoy the new trails that the city is building in Southwest Fresno. If you have any questions, put them in that chat window down below. And of course, links to all these resources we're mentioning will be available on the event website that you can click the link. We'll paste that for you as well. So I'll go ahead and stop my sharing now and turn it back over. Thanks so much, everybody.
Wonderful, thank you. And we're gonna go right over to Tony Molina.
Hi, I'm Tony Molina, and I am chair of the Fresno County Bicycle Coalition, and I'm going to talk today about bicycle crash avoidance. As many of you may know, I am actually a physician, and I used to bike commute to Fresno State, and I used to work in the emergency room, and I would like to share with you that fortunately I did not see too many bicycle crashes, which was a good thing. And that's probably due to the fact that actually bicycle crashes are probably a lot less common than people may think and are worried about. So one of the things I wanted to do was take a poll first off here about bicycle crashes there. So Laura, if you'd like to go ahead and share, go ahead and we'll take our poll to see what kind of experiences our attendees have had as far as bicycle crash. So have you ever had a bicycle crash? No. Was it a minor crash, or was it a major crash? So we'll kind of take a poll to see what people's concerns were there too. So we'll go ahead and if everybody's had a chance to vote there, we'll take a poll, take a result of the poll there. So, and the results are actually good to hear. 50% have not had a bicycle crash, and only 13% have had a major crash, and 38 have had minor. So that's good to know. But I'm sorry to hear that there have been some crashes there. So I would like to just mention that there are some. We'll be talking about crashes, how to avoid them, hazards, and cycling. And also, I'll make reference to what we call the 5 layers of safety, which is something I'd like everybody to remember if you take something home today. So there are some also, since we can't really talk about other things, there's some smart cycling resources that are on the League of American Bicyclists website that I would like to call your attention to for follow-up. As well as also to mention that the Fresno County Bicycles Coalition also has other cycling resources available to you locally. There's our website is fresnobike.org. I encourage you all to consider joining with us with Fresno Bike. And also we have a Facebook page that you may also want to check out and find out about events that we're having and keep up to date with us. So also I would like to also mention, while we're talking about other cycling resources, I'm also a past chair of the City of Fresno Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and I'd also encourage anybody who's interested in advocating for better bike facilities in the city of Fresno to attend our currently online meetings. There's one coming up this next Wednesday at 5:30. We meet the 4th Wednesday of the month, and I would strongly encourage everybody who's interested in improving biking in Fresno to attend BPAC meetings and find out what's going on with that. So without further ado, I'm going to talk about crashes and how to avoid them. But there's a lot of numbers and theories about bike crashes, and in Fresno, the number of fatalities that we get every year on bikes, it can be as low as 3, maybe 5 or 6 on a bad year. This year has actually kind of been a bad year with the pandemic. A lot more people are riding bikes, and there's a lot of people that are not driving very carefully or responsibly out there. So be careful out there, particularly this year. But in general, bicycling, as a physician, I'd like to share with you that bicycling is a healthy, safe activity. There is some risk to it, but the benefits actually exceed the risk. So they say that the benefits of cycling are probably about 12 to 20 times the risk of cycling. So nationally, fatalities from bicycling are probably in around 650 a year, which with a population in the United States, it's actually a pretty low number. California is actually one of the high risk states, or high numbers, just because it's a large state. But the number of actual crashes a year is probably in nationally about 45,000. But you're actually in Fresno anyway, the risk to pedestrians is actually probably about triple the number of fatal pedestrian crashes as bicyclists, and a large number of the bicyclists that are injured or die from traffic collisions is actually due to problems with visibility at nighttime, and also drug and alcohol impairment, both on the part of the motorist as well as the cyclist. So those unfortunately are part of the reality that we deal with. But there's actually studies and hospital admissions that show that a large number of crashes are not reported. Maybe only 1 in 10 actually gets into the statistics. One of the statistics is that about half of all bicycle crashes are actually self-inflicted, just from falling, and you can hit potholes and things like that. So vehicle crashes are actually the less, or about the other half there. So the good news is that as rider experience increases, crashes decrease. So as you ride more, and you have less of a risk. And the good news is that the more people that are riding, actually increases motorist alertness to them. So actually things get safer. And so one of the things we want to do is get more people riding. So some of the reasons crashes happen are, you can see that who's at fault. It's about a 50-50 there, the bicyclist or the motorist. So drivers of bicycles as well as automobiles are all human, so we make mistakes. So some of the big ones, though, are riding the wrong way in traffic, and John also mentioned that earlier too. So those are something to consider. As the other crashes happen at intersections. A lot of people are worried about getting hit from behind. But actually, in the city, most crashes occur at intersections because there's more intersections. Obviously, the struck from behind collisions are actually occur more out on high-speed roads in the country, where vehicles are traveling faster. So, but in the city, intersections are the highest risk. Anyway, so those are some of the causes of crashes, and as we mentioned, some of the risky behaviors that if you can avoid these, this will help a lot. Again, riding on sidewalks, riding the wrong way against traffic, ignoring stop signs and traffic signals, and failing to yield again at intersections when there's crossing action by the vehicle. So we're going to also talk about some of the things you can do to avoid the crashes. And so that illustration right there is doing what we call the quick stop, which is kind of illustrates some of the hazard avoidance maneuvers that we're going to talk about. One of the hazards that's kind of pertinent to Fresno that's not really mentioned in the slides that I'm going to share is when we've been experiencing lately, and as a physician, I'm particularly concerned about other hazards in bicycling, such as air quality. So lately we've been experiencing a lot of wildfire smoke, which can be very hazardous to your health if you are breathing air in traffic. So some of the hazards that you'll have to deal with are debris, potholes, driving in traffic with dooring. Also, the time of day that you're driving your bike can be an issue. So the 5 layers of safety that I'll share with you are: number 1, bike control. And the first 3 layers can prevent about 90% of crashes. So controlling your bike, obeying the law, following the rules, positioning your bike that John has talked about. Those are the first 3 layers. And then avoiding the mistakes of others is the hazard avoidance maneuvers that I'm going to talk about if I have time. And the passive safety are the last things. If all else fails, you've got your helmet and gloves and a mask. So the hazard avoidance maneuvers are the quick stop, the rock dodge, the avoidance weave, and the instant turn, which we normally teach in parking lot drills. But the quick stop, real quickly, is stop using both front and rear brakes. You're sliding your body back like it was illustrated in this diagram. So if you do skid, ease up on your front brakes, slide back as far as possible. The rock dodge is meant for avoiding like rocks and things so while you're doing this, you want to do a quick turn of the handlebars left and then right. So what that does is makes you lean a little bit around, although it says no lean, but you're actually leaning opposite of the way that you're turning your handlebars, and the wheel goes around the object as illustrated, and then you straighten out. And you can practice this normally what we do is we use tennis balls and you practice going around. So it's that quick twitch movement of the handlebars around the object. So you keep going in a straight line. And you can do also what they call, if you've got a bunch of obstacles, you can kind of zigzag around them, swooping turns, leaning yourself on the bike and getting into a rhythm as demonstrated in our parking lot drill diagram. So shifting your weight. And then the instant turn is if you have no time for quick stop, you want to turn your away from the vehicle, but you do a what we call a counter steer turning. So you turn your handlebars real quick and to keep your outside foot down, shoulders leaning, look up and around where you're going. And again, just reiterating the 5 layers of safety we just talked about, you can stay safe. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Laura and stop sharing.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tony, for all this great information. We all need to stay safe on the road, and those are great tips. Before we come to the question and answers, I just wanted to mention that BPAC also has sponsored bicycle helmet and light for attendees of this webinar. They will be distributed on November 20th at King's Elementary. There will be a form that's going to show up after the webinar ends. Please fill that out with the size of bike helmet that you need, and you just have to measure your helmet, your head, to know the size. We'll also follow up with certificates that will be sent per email. And in this email, we'll also have this form again, just in case you don't know your bicycle helmet size. And we'll also email instructions on the pickup date. So this webinar is funded by the Strategic Growth Council and the California Climate Investment and our partner, the city of Fresno. And now we can go over some questions that came up. One of the questions that was mentioned was if there's going to be a recording. Yes, there will be a recording. Actually, this is running live on CMAC TV, so you can watch it on CMAC TV. And we're also recording it, and we'll send you a recording, and feel free to share it with anybody you see fit. And we are always happy to serve as a resource as well. There was a question, when will the TCC infrastructure improvements happen? John Honey, are you still there? Can
I am.
you unmute yourself and take the question? Perfect.
Per the agreement that Laura mentioned at the beginning of the webinar that was signed in April of 2019, all the projects have to be completed by April of, I believe, 2024. And so all the projects will be completed by then, probably more likely in during the 2023 calendar year.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And John, I think mentioned the sharrows. When is the or how is the city planning to put sharrows onto the roads in the city of Fresno?
Well, the city is taking suggestions as far as locations where the sharrows could belong. So that's something that you could either submit through the Fresno app. So one thing that they are trying to figure out is because at signalized intersections, there is bicycle detection. There's those inductive loops in the lane. So they're trying to figure out how to place the sharrow and where to place the loops. So that's something that they're still working on. But they do intend to eventually actually paint the sharrows within those lanes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for the information. Also concerning John Liu's presentation, if riding on the sidewalk is not allowed in downtown, does this apply to kids as well?
Yeah, unfortunately, the law is the law, and whether or not it's going to be enforced, that's up to our law enforcement officers. So while I can't say it's perfectly fine, people are just going to have to use their own judgment and make that decision for themselves.
Okay, wonderful. We are already a little bit beyond our time. If there's any more last second question, please put it in the chat. And we mentioned BPAC, the Fresgo app was mentioned. All the links for those you can find on our website, USGBC